You said you're riding now, but you're not complete. Where are you on your healing journey?
So, basically, for those that don't know, re-broke my collarbone and tore my labrum
I didn't know that.
about 6 weeks ago.
Fuck. What happened? Riding?
No, way worse. So, it's a really embarrassing story, which is part of why I haven't really been very out there about it. I've kind of suggested towards it on my Instagram story, and like when I was wearing the sling right after it happened, it showed up in a couple photos, and some people were like, "What the fuck? Why is your sling back on?"
Right.
Because so basically what happened, I was about 4.5 weeks out of surgery. My collarbone was feeling good. I had kind of overestimated where I was on my healing journey, and it was feeling great because I was like stretching it a lot, doing my PT. I was massage gunning it like that whole day, like all the muscles around it. So like
Loose.
it was kind of one of the first days my shoulder felt like normal and like good and strong. And we were messing around. We were at a bike event called the Sea Otter Classic, which is like the biggest outdoor bike expo at this big racetrack, doing demos. And it was on a Friday. We were cleaning up our booth for the day and just messing around, jimming around on our boards. And these Groms come by and they're like, "Hey, do a backflip." And I'm with Dominique Williams and Tyler James, and they both look at me at the same time, and they're like, "Bodhi can backflip," and I was like, "Yeah, I got you guys." And I'm not putting the blame on them or the Groms. I'm a grown man. It's up to me to think through my decisions. And I did briefly think, I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. Doctor said 5 weeks. I'm at 4.5 weeks. I can land this. I backflip all the time. And so I quickly thought it through. I jump up in the air, not on my one wheel. So I get off my board on the ground. I jump up in the air, and when I tucked for the flip, I cracked my collarbone and tore my labrum.
With your.
Still landed the backflip.
But you landed it, and then as soon as you landed, you were like, "Well, that's broken now."
I was like, I re-broke it. I knew immediately because I heard it, and I felt it crack, and then I felt all the muscles in my shoulder, like around my shoulder, instantly start getting inflamed. Like I felt them like swelling up.
And then
So
you said this was
right
6
there,
weeks ago?
I just re-broke it, and I think I might have tore it too.
This is 6 weeks ago?
This is about 6 weeks ago. So that the boys were like, no, dude, you didn't. No, you're good. But you could see like it immediately got super swollen over the top of the bone, and now like I actually have like a bump. You see the bump?
Yeah.
I didn't have a bump before. Now I have a bump because it was kind of like a perfect. They had fixed it perfect, and now it cracked to be kind of like having a bit of a point. So I went to urgent care. They didn't see the fracture at first, but I knew it was messed up. So then I came back to my orthopedic specialist. They x-rayed it more. It was broken, and then I got an MRI as well, and the MRI came back torn labrum. So right now my collarbone just finished healing up, it seems, in the last like week or two, and then I'll be going in the next few weeks to get my labrum repaired. So I have this kind of period where I can ride carefully and mellow, and kind of take like light little tumbles and catch myself. But when I do that, it like aggravates my arm.
It's so hard.
Pretty fast. So basically I gotta go in and get it fixed up again. Once I get that repair done, I'll have to be on the super mellow train again for like 5-6 weeks, and then I'll be able to make a full recovery.
5-6 weeks.
And yeah, like after surgery, because it's like 6 to 8 weeks. But knowing myself, I'll probably end up getting on my board a little bit earlier.
I was gonna, every time I get injured in this sport, which is often, like, if it's not an injury that directly stops me from riding, like a leg thing, like if my arm is all messed up, it's so hard, and I know that if I fall again, it's gonna really mess it up, like your situation. It's, I don't know, it's really hard not to ride. Like, I see, so you've been using the kendama as like, your kendama is like your outlet when you're healing?
Yes, and music. I've been diving into like DJing and mixing and trying to produce music.
Do you have a SoundCloud?
I do have a SoundCloud, but I haven't put out any of my songs yet because I'm self-conscious, and all my songs are like half loops,
Oh.
you know, like pre-made loops that I've found, and then the other half like sounds that I've put in. And so I'm like a little self-conscious. I kind of feel like a poser, but you know, I've talked to a few musicians, and they're like, dude, you're starting out, and like it's still your work. Like you're still assembling these things and like being creative, and you don't hold yourself back. Just like put out your work that you are stoked on, and just like keep moving forward. And like if people are gonna hate on it, then
No one's gonna hate on it
so,
dude. No one's gonna hate on it. I'm sure everyone is gonna support you with that.
I'm less worried about people hating on it and more worried about just being a poser. Because like I come from skate culture and snowboard culture, and like the worst thing you can be is a poser. You know, and so it's, I don't know. But at the same time, like.
Are you really that worried about what other people think about you? Because I feel like you can do whatever you want. Yeah, and you're really good. Are there, like I was saying earlier, you wear a lot of hats and you can do live camera switching and stuff, and you've been a professional, stand-up paddleboarder, and I feel like you're just like good. You're good at you're good at like, is there anything that you're not good at? Is there like...
managing my time, managing my money, managing my emotions.
Oh, well, that's all important stuff. That's all stuff everyone's working on. And, yeah, you're only human, dude.
Well, I have the gift and the curse of having severe ADHD, and one of the things that allows you to do is obsess over things and hyper-focus into them. And I've also just had the knowing and understanding from a young age that you can get good at anything you want as long as you're willing to be bad in the beginning and put in effort and time. And the kendama is like such a good example of that. Like some people are fairly natural to start, but for the majority of us, myself included, it is so hard.
Yeah, you can't you can't pick it up and look cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it clicks, and you start to get good at it. And like, I get interested in things, and I get fully invested in them, and I put all my energy and effort into it. And I watch YouTube videos, and I talk to people about things, and I just learn stuff because I've just always had this like thirst and hunger for learning and for building my skills and building myself up as a human, because I've always had this little, message from spirit that I'm meant to be something great. I'm meant to be a leader and a source of inspiration for people and a source for knowledge for people. And so I've kind of just chased whatever I can that's going to make me honorable and respectable and, somebody people feel confident coming to and being inspired by, because I fuel myself off of people like that in my life. Like one of my biggest sources of inspiration growing up was Torstein Horgmo. He's my favorite pro snowboarder, and he makes music, he creates content. He's an amazing guy, and he was a big inspiration to me and a lot of the pro skaters in my life and like spiritual leaders and teachers. And so I've just pursued anything I felt passionate about with like reckless abandon. And actually Torstein is a big reason I feel like why you had a good experience with me, because I met Torstein, my hero, my absolute hero, at Keystone Mountain Resort at the terrain park, and I asked him to ride the lift with me. And he said, "Yeah, dude, what's your name?" Because you could tell I was geeking out. I was like trying to keep it cool, but I was totally geeking out. And he was like, "What's your name?" I was like, "Bodhi." And immediately this super hot blonde snow bunny rolls up. She's like, "Hey, Torstein, ride with me." And he's like, "No, I'm going to ride with my homie Bodhi. I'll catch you on the next one." And I was like, "What?" And he rode the lift with me. It was so cool to me and so sweet and kind and like just the raddest dude. And then he brings to the top and it's like, "Yo, I want to introduce you to somebody." And he brings me over and introduces me to Mark McMorris, who's like now like one of the best snowboarders in the world, and at the time was still like an absolute ripper. And that just like stuck with me like majorly, and I remembered how that made me feel. And so, I always told myself when I'm a pro snowboarder, which now I'm a pro one-wheeler, but I want to be like that to people. Like no matter how I'm feeling or like what's going on in my life, like I want to be loving to people and hold space for them and like if they're excited to meet me, I want to be excited to meet them too, you know, and like just be an awesome, outstanding person. And you know, one of my other biggest idols and sources of inspiration is Jesus.
Right.
And Jesus was so kind and so loving to all people. You know, he was there for the prostitutes, for the tax collectors, for everybody. He healed anybody that came to him and had faith in him. And like, that's the way that I want to be to everybody in the world. You know, I want to be kind and I want to be loving. Like, even if I got a storm going on in my mind, which I often do, I deal with a lot of mental strain.
Well,
I'm still going to be there and be loving to people, you know?
That's such a great way to live, and I'm curious about that. I'm interested to talk to you about it, because you said the spirit like pulled you, and you're a spiritual person.
One of the things that I feel like separates us from God the most is our own mind and our own ego, and one-wheeling takes us out of our mind and puts us in our bodies and quiets us and connects us with our surroundings, which I believe is God. God is in all things. God is the life. God is what makes the plants grow. God is what makes gravity work. God is what makes my heart pump, you know? God's not some dude with a white beard in the sky. Like, God's God, spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, far beyond anything we will be able to comprehend, which is the beauty of life, is we get to ponder that until we pass and maybe find out what the deal really is. But I do feel like that's one of the reasons why one-wheeling makes us feel so good, is it can quiet our minds, and it can just connect us with ourselves and connect us with spirit. Actually, the year I won Dirt Surfers, I was ripping down one of the early trails, calling out to Jesus to ride through me, and like crying, like mobbing full speed and like crying like tears of joy. And I won that year by 40 seconds.
That was another point that I brought up when I was talking to Scott. And first of all, thank you for validating that and agreeing with me, because it is a super spiritual thing. And I was surprised. I was like, Scott, I wanted Scott to say something like what you said. But he was like, nah.
Well, I'm not riding around with 20 kids. So.
Right, yeah. It's different. But yeah, that was another point that I was thinking of, like with Tyler James, when he won Race for the Rail. He was like, or before the race, you know, there was like interviews with people, and like everyone, there's like a lot of ego, and everyone's really confident, like, I'm gonna win, I'm training really hard, and like anybody can win a one-wheel race. It's like anybody's game. But Tyler was like, if I win, it's on God. Like, I'm just putting my faith on God. Like, and if it happens for me, it's because of Him. And I think that totally helped him, just kind of like, just putting his faith in something else and fucking sending it, and it worked out for him. So, is he at the office now too? Is that him?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's you. You like flung your hair back. I thought you were him for a second.
I'm bending my back over the couch armrest because I have a back machine. Which I just found out recently. I found an acupuncturist that I'm going to start seeing weekly. But a lot of my stress that I've been dealing with lately is actually from my back injury, because right where my back injury is where my sympathetic nervous system enters my body. So my back pain has been keeping my nervous system in fight or flight mode. I'm like just like stressed. So I'm starting to see an acupuncturist and a chiropractor regularly and deal with like my back pain, and it's definitely helping with balancing out my mental game. You know, you gotta be careful out here.
I definitely like I've ever since I got my one wheel, I feel like I'm just like injured all the time. But it's like, it feels good to like scratch to like bleed a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've always had that same feeling, like, because I grew up skating.
Right.
Skating beats you up more than one-wheeling does. It's a little bit slower, but you hit the ground a lot more often, and it's almost this weird pleasure in the pain, and like a reminder that you're human, and that you're like getting out there and you're pushing yourself, you know, and you're trying new things, and you're not just locked away in your house being comfortable, you know, you're getting yourself in the dirt, you know, and you're doing the thing. But that's why I feel like it's extremely important to always wear your helmet.
Right.
You know, I've been loose about that for a long time, coming from the skate scene and everything, but since coming here and being basically required to wear my helmet, you know, like, it's really given me, and after my injury, it's really given me an appreciation for how important it is to be wearing the proper gear, you know, like,
Right.
even if you're a lifelong shredder like myself, you should have your helmet, and even wrist guards a lot of times, that'll save your hands.
I'm holding
And if you're attaboy. And then if you aren't somebody that grew up hitting the ground hundreds of times every week,
right.
you should definitely wear your helmet and your wrist guards and even maybe some knee pads and elbow pads when you go riding, because people worry about looking kooky or whatever. But
Right.
do you? And this is something I realized. Like, are you really going to compromise your safety, put yourself in a situation where you could get seriously injured just so you look a little bit cooler? You want to look a little bit cooler so you can be a lot more unsafe? Like, that's so ridiculous when you really think about it. It's like you can go out and ride on your one wheel and get absolutely, like, look at Luke Austin.
Right.
Dude, I mean, that's maybe a little bit overkill for just going out on a ride,
up.
but, like, if you're properly padded, you can get fucking pummeled.
Yeah.
And you just get up.
It's nuts.
You know, like, I shattered my collarbone because I wasn't wearing the right equipment. I was wearing a full face helmet without a neck brace, without a collarbone guard.
Your helmet broke it, you think?
My helmet jammed in between my chin and my collarbone. So, like, if you're racing, you should be wearing full face, full pads, collar brace, and you're gonna be fine. If you're out for a cruise, put on your helmet, your wrist guards, maybe some elbow pads, maybe some knee pads even. You're gonna hit the ground, you're gonna slide on the pads that were made to hit the ground and slide, and you're gonna get up and you're gonna go home. Maybe be a little bit sore. But if you're, like, completely padless and you take a slam, you're gonna cut your body up, you're gonna bruise your body up, you know, and then you're feeling it for days. So it's like,
yeah. No,
I hope more people can get over themselves and start wearing the right equipment for the right situations so that they can be as safe as possible, you know.
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely don't like falling. I try not to. I try not to fall, but it's I don't know. Or my point was just that it makes me feel like young, like alive, and like if you're like on the one wheel, and you know, like you're like about to crash, and then you save it. That feeling, that's
cool,
the best.
man.
That's the best feeling. And so now this is cool.
There's something about,
Check it
I've
out.
said this so many times, there's something about scaring the absolute shit out of yourself and almost getting hurt and then not,
Right.
you know, or like going for a trick that you don't know if you can do and you're scared and you land it and you don't get hurt, you make it. It's like better than any drug ever.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of like just accomplishment. I don't know. I feel like now I'm really hungry for that, like with racing too. I never thought that I was like a competitive person, but now that I've done a couple races, it's like that's like almost all I can think about. Like when I'm out riding is just like that next race and all the like that feeling. It's gonna be like I feel like for you it must be even harder because you said Let It Ride. You haven't raced since Let It Ride, and you were gunning for it. So it was. Everyone's rooting for you. It was going to be it could have been your year, or it's going to happen for you. And I know that is that still a goal of yours to like be on the podium racer?
That's a tough thing that I'm pondering right now.